What up, Raffalitos? Here we are on East Coast Bypass Road. Thought I'd take a look at what's happening here on the side of the road now. It seems as if they're building some houses. There's some construction going on here in this neck of the woods. And beyond it, I can see some frames of houses right in the distance. Frames of houses. So it seems as if there's some construction going on now. This is not too far from where they're building that access road. It's going to form a T-junction here at East Coast Bypass Road. Right where that car is parked, there is the junction forming with this new road that's being built. But we are about 3.5 miles in from the East Coast Road, that is the Rupert Craig Highway at Corita Park.
Distance 10 miles. Duration 3 hours 29 minutes 22 seconds. Pace 20 minutes 2 seconds per mile.
And I'm about, 10 miles into my morning run, which is this morning about 17 miles and when completed. So about 7 more miles to go. But here we are at what is close to the southbound end of the southbound section of this East Bank Bypass Road. And a lot of the road has been completed so far, at least on the east side, which is the northbound lanes where I'm walking. Like I said, it's about 75% complete, because what remains is probably the guardrails, safety barriers, and the road markings. And then, of course, what they're going to do to the shoulder. They're probably going to have to pave it as well after they've completed the surface of the road. The other thing that you notice from this road construction project is that there is a pitch to the road. Most of the road actually has a noticeable pitch, especially in this section, for example. The road has about a 1 or 2 degree, 3 degrees pitch to the shoulder from the inside to the outside, so that when it rains, the water actually runs off the shoulder. It doesn't sit and pool on the road. So that is also a standard feature of international road design, which is not always present in the roads that are designed here in Guyana, such as Heroes Highway. If you look at Heroes Highway after it rains, there are pools of water along the highway. And that's because no one paid attention to the pitch to ensure that when it rains, the water doesn't pool on the road. And of course, if you don't have building codes for road construction, road design, and you just leave it up to build it as you go, then you run into a final product that is the Heroes Highway that doesn't really meet international standards. Thankfully, however, these guys who are building this road, this Indian construction company that is responsible for building these roads, seem to have some very good knowledge of road design and road construction, and have put all these features into the road design, road construction, which tells me that this is a much more superior product than Heroes Highway. Recently, I heard the vice president deciding that they're going to resurface Heroes Highway with asphalt to get rid of the uneven surface. I hope at that point they also pay attention to other important international features, such as putting a pitch in the road. In other words, there should be a slight slope from the inside to the outside edge of the road, from the median to the shoulder, so that when it rains, the water doesn't pool, causing hydroplaning for vehicles. It's another U-turn being built into the highway at this point, which tells me, again, these guys are paying attention to what would be needed, what would be necessary on such a road. So looking ahead to the end of the southbound section, once you get there, I think the road turns west, as we will see. But we're now heading 4 miles in off the east coast. At that point, we will be 4 miles in off the east coast or more. Let's see, if we were 10 miles in now, I think we were at 6 miles, somewhere close to the beginning. So we're a little over 3 miles in, maybe 3.5 miles in from the east coast at this point. You can see in the distance where the truck is turning from. That's where the south section, the southbound section of the road turns west. Now this is west. You see all that land is now vacant but not available, because all that land on both sides of the highway, prime land, real estate, has already been acquired by various friends and family of the current government, various investors, which remains an issue, of course. Why land distribution is so political is because it doesn't really follow any principles. It's usually a very open opportunity for money laundering and all kinds of crime. So unfortunately, if you're thinking of acquiring land in this neck of the woods, you wouldn't be able to do so without being drawn into all kinds of corruption. And that is unfortunately the reality. Now, that's not really only a Guyanese thing. If you read the the biography of Robert Moses, written by Robert A. Caro. This book is available on Amazon for those of you who are interested. It's called The Power Brokers, or Power Broker, Robert Moses and the Fall of New York. So what he describes, Robert Caro describes in some of the earlier chapters, one of the earlier chapters of the book, when Robert Moses was building the Southern State Parkway and to some extent the Northern State Parkway, and what would eventually become the Long Island Expressway, but particularly when he was building the Southern State Parkway and the stretch that goes out to Jones Beach, he could not get the Nassau County executives to agree to have him gain access to the right of way for land to put that Southern State Parkway on, because all of that land was tied up with the local politicians, which on Long Island tended to be Republicans. So Long Island, if you've lived in New York, you would know that Long Island tends to be conservative Republican, whereas the city of New York, Queens, Brooklyn, Staten Island, well, not Staten Island so much, but Queens, Brooklyn, the Bronx, Manhattan, those boroughs tend to be Democrat,
Attention, low battery.
lean strongly Democratic, whereas Long Island and Staten Island are Republican. What he was saying, what Robert Caro was saying about how the Southern State Parkway was built, is that over time, Robert Moses had to learn to trade. In other words, he had to agree to give the Nassau County executives access to the plans for the road, the Southern State Parkway, in exchange for access to land, because what they wanted to do was to sell or buy, the politicians were going to buy up the land alongside the highway. And then once it was announced that the road would be built alongside this land, the value of that land would go up, and then the politicians would sell and make a profit. So this is something that's standard. It's been going on for hundreds of years, at least in New York. This is since the early 1900s, when they built the Southern State Parkway, around the 1930s maybe, 1920s, 1930s, 1940s. So this has been happening for a very long time. So when you see it happening in Guyana, it should not be surprising that the politicians are taking kickbacks or selling the land and getting property in New York in exchange for the sale in Guyana, as has been revealed by some of the other reporters on social media. This is kind of standard corruption when it comes to land. And the current government knows this very well, despite all the denials that are being declared, right? The situation with the Ahmads and Baldeo, I think, and some of the other people who have come up on social media, this situation tells me that it's not different from what happened in New York when they were constructing the parkways on Long Island. The very same situation existed. So it's not new, it's not innovative. Crime is rarely innovative, it's just repeated. But that's where we are, guys. All this land here on both sides of the highway, although appearing to be vacant, is already bought up and paid for by various parties, some of which reside in New York. And what they're going to do is wait for the price of the land, the value of the land to go up when this road is completed, because now it has this provided with access, and they will simply sell that land at 10 times what they paid for it. That is the regular racket with land. So another set of lamp posts that are being stored here to eventually be installed. I've already showed you how the lamp posts are installed.